Hi guys, and welcome to another bookshelf tour. I really hope you enjoy this one. Thanks for watching. So the first books I'll be doing on this tour today all come from Lemony Snicket, and the first three of the series are The Bad Beginning, The Reptile Room, and The Wide Window. And if you happen to see the Nickelodeon film, you'll know that it was based on these three books. The next three Snicket books are The Miserable Mill, The Austere Academy, and The Ersatz Elevator. And the elevator one is probably my favorite out of the series. The next three are The Vile Village, The Hostile Hospital, and The Carnivorous Carnival. Next are The Slippery Slope, The Grim Grotto, and The Penultimate Peril. And The Slippery Slope and The Penultimate Peril are another of my favorites in the series. It's probably at these three books where the real plot of the story finally comes into being. And then we have The End, and this is the 13th and final book in the series. Probably one of my least favorites in the series, if I'm honest. The series builds up and it asks all these really great, interesting questions, and then you get to this book and you kind of get nothing. But I still really love the Snicket series. They're really great children's literature. And then, even for adults, I think they're really great. Especially if you've majored in literature or have read a lot of classics. There's so many inside jokes that only literary majors, I think, will understand and get and laugh at. The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, and this is the prequel to the Lord of the Rings series. And I actually haven't read this book yet. I'm probably going to get to it in the summer. And if you guys want me to do a book review, I'll be glad to do one. And then here is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. As you can see, I have the movie cover editions. The first one with Frodo, and then Legolas, and then Aragorn. Man, look at all that sexy. Next is Jasper Fford's Thursday Next series. Right now, I only have the first 5. I believe he has either 6 or 7 out right now. But right now I have The Air Affair, Lost in a Good Book, The Well of Lost Plots, Something Rotten, and Thursday Next. These books are basically an alternate version of the 1980s in England. For instance, you can have pet dodos. The Crimean War is still occurring. And the big obsession in this alternate world is books. The Whispering House by Rebecca Wade. This is an ARC copy that I received through Goodreads. And it's basically a children's story about this girl and her mom who move into this new house, and the little girl comes across a ghost. This Titanic trilogy from Gordon Corman is a children's series, and the first book is called Unsinkable, the second Collision Course, and the third SOS. As you can see, the cover, I really love these covers. The top forms the whole of the Titanic, which is really cute, I think. The story basically is about these 4 children who get on the Titanic. Each of them get on the Titanic in different ways. You have the wealthy girl. You got a boy whose father works in the boiler room. A third sneaks on. And then a fourth, her mother is a suffragist. I've read a lot of children's literature that takes place on the Titanic. And a lot of times you sit and wonder, how is it that these children get up to so much on the Titanic, and then they're even sitting there as the ship is going down, up to no good, and still having these adventures. This trilogy is very, very interesting and very, very good. One of the big fascinating points in this book is that Jack the Ripper is actually on the Titanic. The 10th Kingdom by Catherine Wesley. This may sound familiar to you, especially if you watched the miniseries that was on probably good decade ago. It's a fairy tale retelling about this girl from New York who goes through a portal, a magical portal, into this fairy tale realm and her adventures there. This book, I believe, was wrote after the series, and there's actually a lot of differences in it. So don't go into the book thinking that a lot of what happened in the miniseries is actually there. There's a few minor differences. A Foreign Country by Charles Cumming. I also received this as an ARC copy, and it's basically an MI5 based story and a mystery thriller. And I actually really liked it. It moved very, very quickly. Poison Your Grace by Peg Herring. This book is a mystery thriller that takes place during Elizabeth I's reign, and it tells the story about this apothecary's apprentice named Simon and his girlfriend who are trying to solve a mystery after they've been hired by Elizabeth I. Bewitching by Alex Flynn. This is another fairy tale retelling book, and the big story in this deals mostly with a modern day retelling of Cinderella. It also has minor stories in it as well, in between kind of the big Cinderella story. There's a Hansel and Gretel retelling, which focuses on one of the English plagues and how the Hansel and Gretel characters kind of go through that. And then there's a retelling of The Princess and the Pea. And then there's a retelling of The Little Mermaid that actually deals with the Titanic, which is a really cool twist. The Dressmaker by Kate Alcott. This is probably one of my favorite Titanic stories. It tells the story of a girl who manages to get on the Titanic and become an apprentice to Lady Duff Gordon. And it very briefly only deals with the sinking of the Titanic. The majority of the book is actually in New York and focuses a lot on the aftermath and the disaster hearings. I really, really love this one. Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. Probably one of my favorites in children's literature. It is the story about this young girl who gets lost in the woods and meets with these strange people who actually are immortal. Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. I actually saw the movie first, and I really liked the movie, and so I wanted to read. And the book was so good. I really, really loved it. And if you love animals, I think you really like this too. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I haven't read this book yet, but I promise you I will definitely do a book review for it. Probably sometime in the summer, most likely. The Lady Elizabeth by Alison Weir. This was so good. It focuses a lot on the young Elizabeth I, her childhood and her teenage years. And we really get to see her as a young woman and her thoughts and her relationships with other people. Really, really good. And there's some really shocking, controversial things in here that I think you'd be really fascinated in. And last is Loki by Mike Vasich. This should be familiar, especially if you watched my book review for it. And this is a story about the Norse god Loki and all the mischief he gets up to. So if you really like Norse mythology, you'll really like this. So that concludes this bookshelf tour for today. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button and share. Bye!